This video is a complete guide on how you can get out of debt and how you can stay debt free. If you are in debt, please do watch the entire video because I believe you will definitely find some value from it. Hey, what's up guys? You're watching Boss Your Money with Anthony. If you haven't already, please do subscribe down below, turn the notification bell on and turn the like button blue. This channel is all about personal finance tips and tricks. If you want to improve your personal finance, you definitely want to watch my other videos as well. So what exactly is debt? When I say debt, I'm talking about any monetary amount that you may owe anybody else. That can include small amounts that you borrowed from your friends. It can include your credit card payments that you haven't paid already. It also includes all of your loans and mortgages. When you owe someone money, it's never a good feeling, right? It's always growing because of interests. It's always at the back of your mind. You never have peace of mind. And after a certain point, it just gets annoying. With the collectors always constantly behind you and you always scratching your head as to how you can come up with the money to pay them off. It is a difficult situation to be in. It's always better to not be in debt. But once you are in debt, it's not the end of the world. I'm here and there are a lot of other people you can turn to for help as well. And together we can get rid of all your debts. Trust me when I say this, the second you pay off your debts, you're going to feel a weight off of your shoulder. So if you are interested in paying off your debts, keep watching and let's get straight into the video. The first thing that you're going to want to do when you're in debt is figure out exactly how much debt you're in. Write down exactly each different item of debt that you have and how much you have to come up with to pay it off. There is a small difference between the amount that is showing on your loan statement and the amount that's actually required to pay it off. Any kind of debt settlement comes with additional fees. So when you're calculating your debts and how much you owe, you need to be mindful of that and try to figure out exactly how much you actually owe in total and write that figure down. Also make sure that you don't total up all of your debts. Make sure you write it as individual line items and understand how much you owe for each different debt item. Once you've done that, the second thing that you want to do is categorize them by the amount that you owe and also the interest rate for each debt. So why exactly do you want to do this? There's two ways to look at it. It might be better to pay off the smaller amounts that you owe in the beginning because that just gets rid of that debt item in total. But also the second reason you want to do this is because you might want to prioritize paying off your high interest debts first. If you borrowed a small amount from your friend at 0% interest a couple of years back, and if your friend hasn't asked for it back, it's all well and good that you want to pay it back immediately, but I would say just hold off on that till you pay off your high interest debts first. Starting off with your credit card because that's probably your highest interest debt. Don't get fooled by the 2% or 3% credit card interest that you're looking at. It's 2% per month and not per annum. That's a very big differentiation that you have to be very well aware of. Okay, so now you've listed out all of your debts and you've put them in different categories, from highest priority to lowest priority based on the value of each of your debts and the interest rate. The next thing that you have to do is sit and make a budget. I know I always talk about budgets, but it is critical in any kind of financial planning. If you don't have a budget, you're not going to be able to track your finances and you're not going to be able to pay off your debt. So on your budget, I want you to have your debt repayment as the top most important. What this means is that forget about other expenses that you can reduce. You want to increase the amount you put towards your debt repayment as high as possible. When you do that, you're automatically going to pay off your debts faster. I know it sounds simple, I know it sounds silly, but that is the truth of it. Your budget should obviously include your income and your expenses as well. And once you've listed out your expenses, you have to figure out ways to reduce your costs. This is critical because you clearly cannot continue with the current expenditure that you have, because if you could, you wouldn't be in debt in the first place. So reducing costs is almost as important as increasing your repayments towards debt. If you'd like to watch a detailed video on how to make a budget, I have made a video on that. I will leave a link in the description below. Check it out. So when you're making a budget, you want to have a clear understanding of a plan of action. You want to understand you want to figure out how exactly is your plan of repayment. You need to know how much you're going to pay every month towards which of your debts and which are the ones that you need to close off at the earliest. It's also important to figure out some of the debts that you can push to a later date. Maybe something like your mortgage, or like I said, something you borrowed from a friend or a family member could possibly be pushed for a later date. I would highly recommend that you prioritize paying off your smaller credit card bills and your smaller personal loans and the such to pay off at the earliest. The next crucial step to getting out of debt and remaining debt-free is not making minimum payments. I'm not saying don't make the minimum payment. I'm talking about paying more than the minimum required amount. This is very important. The minimum payments actually don't reduce your debt at all. These are just charges collected by the people who have lent you money, and they don't go towards paying off your debts one bit. So remember that and pay off as much as possible every single month so that you can close off your loan. When I say minimum payments, I'm not talking about the EMI. EMI stands for equated monthly installments, and those are a different thing. A very small portion of your EMI does go towards reducing your debt balance, but I'm talking about in general when you have a credit card minimum fee, that doesn't necessarily go towards your debt repayment. And just in general, the more you pay, the faster you're going to get rid of your debt. That's what we want, right? When you are in debt, you need to be saved from yourself. Hear me out. I'm talking about impulse spending. It is very, very important that you don't spend anything unnecessary. So if you're the kind of person to impulse spend, do whatever it takes so that you are not getting into that habit. If you need to cut up your credit cards, do it. If you need to have a cash envelope budget, do it. Do whatever it takes so that you're not spending on something that you don't absolutely have to spend on. And if you're in a very bad situation, I'm sorry to have to say this, but you're going to have to start selling off things that you absolutely don't need. You're going to want to think about living a minimalist lifestyle, and you're going to want to think about downsizing as much as possible. I'm confident that 90% of your belongings are actually things that you don't need to survive. Everything that you think you need, you can always buy back once you're out of debt. Just remember though, don't get back into debt trying to buy those things back. The next step to getting out of debt and living debt-free is increasing your income. What is increasing your income? It could be anything from getting a promotion at work. It could be starting a side hustle. You could take up some part-time jobs. You could create other streams of passive income. There are lots of options where you can generate additional money on the side. It all depends on your skill set, where you are, how things work, what's right for you, and various other factors. But you need to figure out, you need to put your foot down and come up with ideas to generate additional income so that all of that additional income goes towards your debt repayment. This additional income is not for you to spend. Just remember that and be very strong about it with yourself. Now that you've done all of that, what I want you to do is go to your lenders, go to your banks, go to your credit card companies, whoever you borrowed from. I want you to go to them and renegotiate. I want you to approach them and explain to them that this is your situation and you're not able to pay it, or you're able to pay a lesser amount, or whatever it is. I want you to go to your lenders and I want you to tell them to reduce your interest rate, and I want you to tell them to reduce the overall amount that you need to repay. And unless you're not being genuine about it, they will most likely, in most cases, consider renegotiating and reducing your debts. There are a lot of different techniques and methods when it comes to debt repayment. You might have heard of debt snowball and debt avalanche. You might have heard of balance transfers and debt consolidations. If you're not aware of any of these things, and if you want me to make a detailed video on any of these subjects or all of these subjects, just let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll definitely release a video detailing each of these aspects. But if you do know what they are, consider taking advantage of these methods and techniques to repay and get out of debt as soon as possible. Just remember though, things like balance transfers and debt consolidation might actually be a bad thing in some cases. So be very careful when you consider these things. And last but not least, all of this is impossible. All of this is not going to work, and all of this is just a waste of time if you don't decide for yourself and stick to it and actually commit with a lot of focus and a lot of determination and hard work to actually get rid of your debt. Because at the end of the day, watching the video and not actually taking action is of no use. This is a serious matter. You need to do everything it takes to pay off all of your debts as soon as possible. If you have any questions on debt repayment, or if you think I've missed out on some aspect of getting out of debt, please let me know in the comment section so that I'll be able to address them for you. I've been in debt myself, and these are the steps that I have personally taken to get out of debt, and I've shared my experience with you so that you too can utilize these steps to get out of debt. So if you found these tips useful at all, please do consider subscribing to my channel, because all I do all the time is post personal finance tips and tricks, not only on how to get out of debt, but also on actually how to invest and increase your wealth once you're out of debt. So if any of this is of interest to you, please don't forget to subscribe. Also, to help me out, please don't forget to turn the like button blue. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.